Brandi Kurka has a background in exercise science and is the executive director for the organization Conquer Paralysis Now. The organization was started by racecar driver Sam Schmidt, who sustained a spinal cord injury after crashing into a wall at over 200 miles per hour in January of 2000. That same year, he started Conquer Paralysis Now. 23 years later, Brandi Kurka has taken the organization to new heights, including Driven, a program devoted to the lifestyle needs of a person living with paralysis, things like personal goals and social networks. They've also expanded their support of paralysis from injury to include those from conditions like MS, stroke, and other neurological conditions. The organization has one big dream to fill: a world where there is a cure for paralysis and people with neurological conditions can live entirely independent. When we spoke to Brandi, we got insight into what paralysis actually means.
Paralysis is just part of the body that isn't functioning. It could be from a spinal cord injury, a stroke, brain injury. It could be something more degenerative.
We spoke about what new developments are being made in the space.
There's also some amazing things that he's been doing over the past few years. He's driving a Corvette and now a McLaren with his head. He's broken some records doing that. He doesn't just drive it around, he races it. So there's some really incredible videos on that, but he has no function below shrugging his shoulders.
And she shares Sam's most inspiring piece of advice, as well as some of her own.
He'll meet with people in the hospital when they have new injuries or just people who are struggling. And that's what he kind of shares with them is find something that you love. Find your reason to get up every morning. Now it may take you 2 to 3 hours to get up every morning and you need the assistance of a caregiver. Find those reasons that you want to get up. Find those things that you love. But one of my biggest advice on the front end is no matter how you're feeling mentally, emotionally, really push for that recovery. Towards the front end, you're more likely to see more progress. Typically, they say within the first year and a half, that's where you see the fastest progress. And, some people, it takes them 6 months to a year to even accept what's happening for them and wanting to dive into it. But that's one of the biggest regrets that I hear on a regular basis is they wish they would have started sooner.
This episode is Driven, the road to recovery from paralysis. So it's so great to finally meet you, Brandi, and all of the amazing things your organization and company is doing. And I want to take it to the very, very beginning and get everyone to get to know a bit about you. So who are you and what is your background and how did you get started in the paralysis space?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. We love sharing the message of what we do and getting out there to people. So we really appreciate being on here. My name is Brandi Kurka. I am the executive director of Conquer Paralysis Now. There's a long backstory to it, but I started with the founder, Sam Schmidt, in 2014, and I was actually his assistant, which got me tied into this foundation and this world. My background is in exercise science, and then I went for my master's for adaptive physical activity and then moved on to spinal cord injury rehabilitation. So for a long time, I've had a passion for working with paralysis and spinal cord injuries and people with disabilities. So I was able to get a job with Sam here in Las Vegas, and I did spinal cord injury training with him, but then also got to work with his foundation, work with his race team, and just get tied really into his world. And it was super great experience. I learned a lot. But eventually I just wanted to get back into really helping more people. As we searched here in Las Vegas, there weren't really any options for people for recovery after their spinal cord injury or other forms of disability. You get a very minimal amount of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and then unfortunately insurance kicks you off and just sends you home. So we decided that I would work with Sam and Conquer Paralysis Now to create the Driven Neuro Recovery Center here in Las Vegas. And then in 2020, I became the executive director of Conquer Paralysis Now, which is the parent foundation.
Incredible. And for people who don't know Sam, because his story is quite amazing, who is Sam Schmidt?
Yes, he does have a very incredible story. Sam was an IndyCar driver who wrecked and was paralyzed from the neck down in 2000. He was going about 200 miles per hour when he backed into a wall in his IndyCar. So lucky to still be alive and have him here today. But He went from being a very successful IndyCar driver to ending up in a hospital bed, being told to don't even bother. You only have a few years left to live, put him in a nursing home. And his family are just very strong people, and fought for him, found him the right services to get him the care that he needed. And while he was in the hospital, he saw that he had a family that was very supportive. He has a strong faith, and he had the IndyCar community backing him, as well as really good professional athlete insurance. So at that time, he got about 6 months of inpatient therapy. He was able to get off the ventilator, really see a lot of progress, but the people around him he saw didn't have the same experiences he did. They didn't have the insurance coverage or the family support to really push forward with their recovery. So while he was in the hospital, he just started to start a racing team as well as a foundation.
Of course.
It's just incredible while in a hospital bed dealing with your own paralysis, being able to really take on that and wanting to help the people around him. So he started the foundation in 2000 that initially helped support finding a cure for paralysis, and also quality of life grants to help people out. And for the past 23 years, we've been supporting research and trying to find that cure. We've put about $18 million towards it. But then in 2018, we realized we wanted to help people now too. So if there ever is a cure, how do we make sure that they're physically and mentally ready to take those next steps?
Well, and there's so much to unpack there in terms of all the little, not little, but the segments that you help support a person through. And I want to take a moment, because for someone who's sort of just learning about the space, Sam's story is one type of paralysis, but your organization actually helps different types of causes of paralysis. It helps people who have had different experiences. So according to you or to your organization, how do you define paralysis and the type of people you are helping?
Yeah, and originally our main focus was spinal cord injuries. It was really addressing that side of things. But when we opened the Driven Center, we realized there's a big range of people that needed help and needed more services. So that's where we decided to expand what we were doing. So we work with any type of neurological injury, and even other disabilities. It may be a hip replacement that physical therapy sent them home and they're still in a walker. We're able to help get them back to shape. But paralysis is just part of the body that isn't functioning. It could be from a spinal cord injury, a stroke, brain injury. It could be something more degenerative like multiple sclerosis. Currently, we're seeing over 30 different disabilities.
Wow.
And they range from things that were acquired later in life to things at birth, like cerebral palsy. So there's such a range of what we work with and what we can do and can help people with.
That's so important. And so the difference between Conquer Paralysis Now and the Driven program is, it sounds like the Driven program is addressing a very specific set of needs that maybe Conquer Paralysis Now is sort of, as you said, the parent. But what is this Driven actually? Is it a rehabilitation program? What does it actually focus on?
Conquer Paralysis Now is the parent company, so it kind of like a wheel with a hub and spokes. So research is one of the spokes, and the Driven Recovery Center is another spoke. So it's a fitness and wellness center for people with disabilities. So we do intensive activity-based training, which is one-on-one, sometimes even up to 4-on-1 training with people to really focus on their recovery. But we also have an accessible fitness center where all the seats move out of the way and wheelchairs can pull right up to it. We do different group classes like chair yoga, boxing, weightlifting clubs to try to get that social interaction as well. And then we also do, address mental health things and have support groups, counseling, trying to really address the whole person. The physical side is very important, but it's the mental, the emotional, the social side is also just important for someone to recover.
That's so important. And I think the things that we don't think about is what a person actually needs outside of the physical help is the emotional support. And as you mentioned, a financial, I think, is a piece of it as well. You mentioned earlier the idea that or the mission that there could be a cure. What does that actually look like, and how far are we from potentially making that happen?
Yeah, There's definitely the potential for a cure. There's been a lot of progress over the years, and particularly now, there's just been a big push and collaboration between researchers and clinicians. And instead of everyone working in their own silos, people are really pulling together to try to figure it out. And the cure ranges. I mean, there's the obvious cure to completely cure a spinal cord injury or paralysis, but then there may be getting your bowel and bladder function back, getting use of your arms again. So for everyone, there's kind of a different meaning to the cure, but they're pushing in all directions to try to find it. And it's made a lot of progress since we've been around and been trying to push it forward. But it hasn't been moving as fast as we would like. And that's where we wanted to address people today and be able to help them and take care of themselves. But a lot of amazing things are happening out there right now.
Well, let's speak on some of these really amazing things that are happening, some treatments or some exciting research that you've seen in the last little while that kind of takes us a leap forward towards that cure. What's some discoveries that have been happening?
Yeah, some of the major ones that seem to be making the most progress right now are working with stem cell treatments, epidural stimulation, brain-computer interfaces. Those seems to be the really big push right now. But all those are kind of combining treatments with the rehabilitation side, doing the treatments, trying the stem cell replacements or epidural stimulation is very important, but then also having the proper rehabilitation afterwards to really push that forward and tying it together.
So it sounds like, if there was a journey for a patient or someone living with paralysis, it's really about understanding their diagnosis, understanding what's available, understanding what's coming out, being able to go through the process, getting treatment, getting the support to be able to go through it, and then the lifestyle change and ensuring that they have a healthy living lifestyle that they can get around, that they can live a quality life with what they have. Is that fair to say is sort of the flow of the organization?
Yeah, it's important from start to finish. Getting out of the hospital, being able to live, but then also fighting for the future and what's possible, not only for them, but for future people to come. How can we prevent this for people? And how can we help the ones down the road that will experience it?
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, I guess in your role, absolutely, you get the best of all worlds in terms of both the research and understanding it and being able to work with patients and people living with paralysis. Other than Sam's story, which is pretty amazing. I mean, people can go on the site and read all about it. But other than Sam, what are some stories that have stood out for you or some inspirations that kind of keep you going and keep you energized towards what you do every day?
Yeah, every day there's something new. We actually have a chalkboard wall here where we have a monthly update. So whatever people accomplish that month, we put on the board. So it may be physical, it may be they took their first steps or wiggled their pinky for the first time, or it may be that they got their driver's license, went back to college, got a job. So it's amazing to, see somebody walking by my door for the first time since their injury that will put you in tears every time.
I bet.
There was one kid in particular who I got to see as I was just working away at my computer, doing the behind the scenes stuff. And he goes walking by my door and I was like, he hasn't walked before. And I was just astounded. And then I saw his mother just in tears recording him and just so excited and just getting to see that on a regular basis. It's truly incredible. But then we're also seeing people just find their way back to life. They're joining the adaptive sports teams, they're going to college, they're getting jobs, they're starting to date again. Whatever it is that they want to do, they're diving back into that world and finding themselves again.
It's such a powerful reminder of all the things I think able-bodied people forget and take for granted in the regular day-to-day. And it's not until you're dealing with an injury like this that you recognize how important it is to appreciate everyday life. It's probably really hard at first to understand and intake what's happening to you. What is your advice for somebody who is newly diagnosed or for that first part of the trauma of having to deal with having to live a different lifestyle? What sort of advice could you give them?
Yeah, and it's extremely traumatizing and everyone handles it differently. I mean, some people they're just ready to fight and go after it. And some people, it takes time. They don't want to see people. They don't want to talk to people. They don't want to, push for their recovery. And I mean, all sides are completely understandable. You're going through something that is just unfathomable. But one of my biggest advice on the front end is no matter how you're feeling mentally, emotionally, really push for that recovery. Towards the front end, you're more likely to see more progress. Typically, they say within the first year and a half, that's where you see the fastest progress. And, some people, it takes them 6 months to a year to even accept what's happening for them and wanting to dive into it. But that's one of the biggest regrets that I hear on a regular basis is they wish they would have started sooner. They've already lost so much, muscle mass function during that time that they weren't doing anything. So the biggest thing I can say is on the front end, try to push as hard as you can. Often the doctors aren't very hopeful. We hear many clients that share that the doctors have told them, you're never going to walk again. Don't bother. There's nothing that can be done for you. And unfortunately, some people do listen to that. And we've seen incredible things. We've seen people walk that the doctor said would never walk again. And that's not a guarantee. Not everyone's going to walk again, but there is progress to be made, maintaining your health, maybe getting some arm function back, maybe getting bladder control back. But the only thing we can really guarantee is if you do nothing, you're going to get nothing back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's powerful. That's powerful. So on the roadmap for Conquer Paralysis Now, or what the next sort of year looks like for you all, and really what the Driven program is going to be doing over the next 12 months, what does the next year, what does it look like for you?
Yeah, we actually have some exciting things on the horizon that we'll be announcing soon. So we're working on expanding and being able to help people more in other areas of the country. So we've just seen such a need for it. It's been 5 years since we've had the Driven program open, and it's been a huge success. And there's constant waiting lists and growths. We're actually looking for a bigger space here in Las Vegas, and there's just such a need for it. So we want to be able to help support people, in other parts of the country as well too. And one of the biggest things that we do is the finance side is so challenging. When you've had a spinal cord injury or a major stroke and you've lost your job and your loved ones have to, quit to take care of you, you don't have money to afford to pay for rehabilitation for the rest of your life, or, however long you want to continue on for. So we do help provide scholarships for people who can't financially afford the services as well too. And we want to be able to share that with more people who are struggling, and they just need that help. They want it. They want to push themselves. They just don't have the resources and the place to do it at this point.
Well, I think what you're doing is incredible too, because as you're going through, as most of your clients who are going through this, I mean, there's so much other things to worry about that these just compound. And so the fact that your organization can provide some of the support needed, especially, as you said, financially, because health is so expensive and it's much needed. I really love that the program is really about lifestyle and ensuring that all of the areas of your life are taken care of, so you can take care of yourself as you're going through this.
Yeah. And we do try to help the family and the caregivers too, because they're going through a lot. Their whole life has changed and they're doing their best to support, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So it's making sure that they're taking care of themselves so that they could take care of their loved ones as well too.
Interesting. And just to focus on it for really quickly, for a caregiver, is there a specific program through Driven that's available to help them understand how to be a supporter and how to support themselves?
Yeah, we do provide any of the services here. They're allowed to participate. So our weightlifting clubs, our boxing. So we do have, brothers that'll come in and work together, or, husband, wife that will come in and work out together. But we also have a support group just for caregivers, to really give them a chance to meet people going through similar situations, be able to open up. But then they also are able to use the gym and, work with the trainers if they're interested. So if they're having to transfer their loved one, how do you strengthen, your back, or what are those areas that you need to work on to make sure that your body is physically ready to be taking care of that person as well?
Fantastic. Well, I'm after this, of course, we'll make sure we post all your website links to everything, as well as tag your social handles, because everyone can get a glimpse further into the types of rehabilitation programs, types of programs that you offer, as well as some glimpses, I guess, into the new space, if that's coming up soon for you.
Yep.
Amazing.
on one thing to check out is we kind of touched on Sam earlier, but there's also some amazing things that he's been doing over the past few years. He's driving a Corvette and now a McLaren with his head. He's broken some records doing that. He doesn't just drive it around, he races it. So there's some really incredible videos on that, but he has no function below shrugging his shoulders and is driving a car fully with his head. So it's really incredible to see, but it's also just really inspirational. So people can really see that what technology is able to do and assist with out there. And there's also some videos of him dancing with his daughter at her wedding just the other year. So they were able to create an exoskeleton for him to use and dance with his daughter at his wedding. So it's pretty incredible stuff, but it just shows that with technology and people who are wanting to make change is really possible. It's just bringing everyone together.
I just want to confirm that I heard right, is that Sam is obviously still racing to this day, and he is using a device that's actually allowing him to race a car with his head.
Correct. And he's done different things like Pikes Peak Hill Climb in Colorado, where it's the windy mountain roads with I think like 3,000-foot cliffs on it. He raced Mario Andretti. He actually raced in Las Vegas in one of the sports car races. So he's done some pretty incredible things, and there's videos all over YouTube of those. He works with a company called Aero Electronics, and they've been absolutely incredible helping create that technology and getting in behind the wheel of the car.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It just goes to show your true passions. There's always a way to get it done, right? So this is some of the technology that's also being rolled out across, I'm sure, other spaces so that people could do other sports with, a piece of device that they wear on their heads.
That's the goal, is to create this and be able to get it out to the rest of the world so that they know it's available, and, they could use it as well too in the future.
That is amazing, Brandi. If that's not the perfect way to be inspired and to sort of finish this off, I don't know what else could, because wow, the person who started this, Sam, being able to continue to do what he loves and just finding another way to do it.
That's what he always shares with people. He'll meet with people in the hospital when they have new injuries or just people who are struggling. And that's what he kind of shares with them, is find something that you love, find your reason to get up every morning. Now it may take you 2 to 3 hours to get up every morning, and you need the assistance of a caregiver. Find those reasons that you want to get up, find those things that you love. And that's where Sam, he has the foundation, he has the race team, he has the car driving with Aero Electronics. So he's found those things that he loves that makes him get up every day.
Love that. I love that. Brandi, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to explain paralysis to us, to explain all the work you're doing with Conquer Paralysis Now and the Driven program, for just sharing some of the new developments in the space that, we're not privy to, but that you have insight into, and that wisdom, and passing it forward to us. I'll be sure to include all the social handles as well as the web links, but I just wanted to, again, thank you for your time and for really sharing all the work that you're doing, and thank you for doing it.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. And thank you again for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we just get the awareness out to people, and maybe we can help some people that watch this later.